Right down there is Area 51. If you can see those lights down there, it's been going on for the last couple of days. You see lights like going up and down and moving all around. Like right now, you see that one right there? Look, it's going up. It's starting to go up. It's been there for like the last 20 minutes or so. Now it's going up. And this has been going on for the last couple of days. And look, you can see it's going up and up. And I don't know what it is, but this is like some creepy shit. Now I know that what goes on down here at Area 51. We've been like camped out here for a while, and look, it's moving. It's moving. It's going the other direction. Now you see, this is the kind of stuff that. Oh, did you see that?
I'm glad you've returned to the Storyist. Dr. Jonathan Reed's story from October of 1996 is nothing short of fascinating, and includes the typical internet crowd of both believers and naysayers. There's so many questions we all have with cases that are similar, but many of you may not know that Dr. Reed made a documentary covering the incident, and I believe we need to go down the rabbit hole on this to really digest this tale. This is the beginning of the story, in his own words.
Does it ever cross your mind when you come up here that a lot of people don't even know, like people that come through here don't even know what happened up here?
I hope they don't know, actually. You know, because I've never wanted anybody to go and desecrate the site.
Oh, right.
But I've been up here. There's a restaurant up at the top of the pass. And I sat there, was having coffee one day, and two people came by and said, "Aren't you that guy? Aren't you that doctor?" And so people do know. I mean, I know that people know. After we did Otoroyo, that show came out. When it first came out, we couldn't basically go anywhere without getting recognized. On the day I was up here, I drove from here down about a mile.
Okay.
And parked. There's a big cutout like this in the road,
Right.
and I was able to just pull off and park, and that was the normal place that I was go.
Right.
You know, and park, get the dog out, and start walking. And we just started walking down, and we'd been walking for about a good hour, when she took off running and barking, and you know, and I didn't think much of that because that happened all the time. That was pretty normal. You know, chasing squirrels and raccoons and whatever, but it was different that day. It was definitely different. And it gives, you know, it's hard to be here. It's hard. It's emotional. Not only because of Susie, but just knowing that it changed my whole life that day. Everything is different. But this is exactly where I had to drive back from. You know, when I had the body in the back of the Jeep, and you know, I had to drive home. And I drove along here, and then I turned off at the first exit up here to go to the ranger station, where I knew there was a ranger station, but you know, there was nobody there. So I just got back in, you know, sick as I was, and drove home as fast as I could. stopping along the way and roll out.
Think you could roll the window up? Press some of the roll. How far from the ranger station?
We're about 10 miles from the ranger station. But it was the first place I knew where there might be somebody. It was about, I think it was about 5:30 or so, 5:45 at that time. And in October, it starts to get, that's starting to get dark. During winter, it gets dark pretty early. That's what I was worried about. I was worried about being caught out in the middle of nowhere, being as sick as I was, and not being able to get back to my Jeep. So, fear led me out of there just as much as fear kept me there. It's very surreal to come back up here and be in this place. This place that, one day my life was one way and the next day it was all upside down. And everything changed. I mean, everything literally changed overnight. And within days I had no job, I had no credibility, I had lost friends and family, and my house had been ransacked. And for what? Because I found something unique. It shouldn't happen. People shouldn't be put through this kind of trauma.
We got to talk more about some of the stories that you come across with people going through similar things,
Oh, hey, thousands of people all over the world have had contact. Some a lot more traumatic than mine. It's just that they were smart enough not to come forward. In a lot of ways, I wish I had remained silent. Because maybe my life would have been much better off. I'm glad that I have the knowledge that I have now, that I know that this exists, and that I can put some kind of understanding to a lot of people's misunderstanding of what it's really about. But people need to open their minds. They need to be more receptive to what the importance of this is and why it's going on, and that we're not alone. And we haven't been for a long time. We're part of them. We're part of the circle of life. We're just lower down on the food chain, a lot less intelligent. Maybe we don't have a right to have the full menu of knowledge that they do. Maybe we haven't earned that right yet in evolution. I mean, there's a lot of speculation as to why we only know so little. But more and more people are gaining information all around the world, and we're compiling that together. We're trying to create a database of ideas, speculation, and language, what we've been told as contactees. And my hope is that we continue to do that and support the people who have had contact. They are the ones who are the true evidence that this is going on. I don't care whether somebody's got photographs or an artifact or a body. If you've seen and had physical contact, you know that it's real. You know that it has changed your whole paradigm of life, and that nothing will be the same again. It's incredible. And it's very disturbing at the same time. It's not something that I take lightly at all. It's taken me, 13 years to even be able to talk about it openly like this. And I'm still paranoid, and I'm still afraid of many things. But I think I'm angry at the same time. I'm angry at humanity for not embracing people who have come forward, who have tried to say, look, we need to wake up to this reality. But instead, we shun them away. We call them crazy or insane, and we try to make them out to be lunatics. They are the evidence. They are the living, breathing evidence that this is not just a phenomena, but a reality. And I think in 1996, when this happened to me the first time, I was asleep like so many other people. I was not aware or even conscious that this could be a reality. And now, in May of 2009, not only do I know it's a reality, but I know that it's a permanent fixture in all of our psyche. I mean, we are being told and shown that this is a evolutionary time in our Earth, and we need to wake up to that reality. We need to embrace that. I was told information back in 1996, 1997, that things were going to be changing, that there was going to be huge changes in the reality of mankind. And even today, even 13, 14 years later, those things are coming to pass. They're a reality, not a fantasy. I wrote about those things in the book that was published in 1999. How could I have known that? How could I have imagined the reality of 9/11? How could I have imagined the reality that our political system would be corrupt, that there would be a world economic crash? How could I have known that unless I was shown this information? Well, I was shown. I was told. And I didn't want to believe it at the time. I didn't want to believe that it was true, because it's disturbing. But I know that I can't just throw away what I now know is true. I need to talk about it. And I've decided to, because I have no other choice, to try to help other people like me that have come through this and don't know how to deal with it. Because there are thousands of us all over the world who've had contact, who feel isolated, who feel alone, and we don't know how to deal with it on our own. But literally, because of the internet, we've been able to learn to come together as a global family, to support each other, and to find ways to comfort each other and learn from all of our experiences. Hey, we don't have all the answers. I certainly don't have all the answers, but we're learning more every single day. Since my first encounter, I may have had over 100 more of them, where I've had physical, one-on-one contact, not spiritual contact, not just etherical contact, but physical contact, just like you're sitting next to me now. Other people have seen this creature. Sometimes it's the same, sometimes it comes with other ones with him. But as many as 30 and 40 people have witnessed some of these encounters. So it's not an isolated incident. It's not something I'm making up. It's not a hoax that somebody's creating. We all around the world are not having the same delusion or illusion. We're not under some kind of hypnotic trance, nor is this an occult in any way. I'm not a prophet. I'm not a guru. I don't profess to be, but I will tell you what happened to me. And if you can learn from it, wonderful. If you don't want to believe me, I got no problem. Walk away. Go find something else to spend your time with. Because I don't have any time to waste the rest of my life. I know there are things that are important to talk about, and this is one of those issues. This is a reality, and it's true. It's my truth. Some people talk about the fact that we're selling a book or a DVD concerning the case. Well, those books were written and the DVDs were made because of requests to explain the story. It costs money to produce that stuff. It costs money to go and talk to people all over the world. Airplane tickets, lodging, transportation, all that costs a great deal of money. So when people say, well, why aren't you just giving this information away? The first thing, as I said, is, well, I tried to do that in the beginning. I gave it to every media outlet I could and was basically refused or told that they couldn't handle it. They couldn't deal with this reality. They couldn't air it for one reason or another. And so then we wrote a book. So then we recorded a video and made DVDs because millions of people requested them. So in answer to people saying, well, why don't you just give it away? Well, hey, you give me the money to produce all these products, I'll be happy to just give them away. I give away thousands of books and DVDs, every year for the last 10 years. That's cost a lot of money to produce them. Anyway, this is the ranger station that I came to right after the encounter and pulled in, and it was empty, just like it's empty now. And, there's nobody in there. I banged on the door and doors were locked, and so I got back in and continued on my way. But basically, this is the North Bend ranger station. So, we'll, mosey on down the road. People always say to me, they say, well, why didn't you call the police? Why didn't you call, all these people? Well, first of all, this is 60 miles out in the middle of nowhere to begin with. And it just wasn't advantageous. I mean, I had to drive about 10 miles just to get to the ranger station to where anybody was. So that was the first opportunity I had to get help. And then there was nobody there. In the process...
Talking about the video and audio.
Yeah, the video, the audio, a lot of that stuff I lost because people came through my house and stole a lot of stuff. They stole a lot of stuff from people that said they were part of the MUFON group. They turned out not to have anything to do with them. So, I got to the point where I couldn't trust anybody.
Can you roll the window up?
Yes. Got to the point where I really couldn't trust anybody with any of the, any of the material I had, any of the evidence, if you want to call it that. But, people say, well, why don't you just throw it all out there, on the TV? Well, you've thrown out a lot of it. A lot of it is out for people to see. I mean, you can go on YouTube, it's free. You can learn the whole story. You can learn more about that there than you probably learn if you go to a lecture with me. But I'm just one guy. I mean, this isn't just about me. It's happened to thousands of people all over the world. And, I just wish people would recognize and give some credibility to the evidence of the people who've had these experiences. Now, it's a truly unique thing. It's truly frightening. But what's more frightening is the human beings and the dark forces that I call them, the bad people that keep us from talking about what's happened in our life. That's the part that's just not right. It's not right at all. We shouldn't have to hide anything.
So just take us back to October the 15th, 96. Or is there anything you want to ask me first?
Well, first of all, it's a privilege to meet you, to share with you, and what you've been doing to tell other people about my experience and about other people's experiences all over the world. On October 15th, 1996, I was walking in the woods with my dog, Susie. And we'd done this many times before, nothing unusual. And I parked my Jeep, and we had been walking for about an hour in the woods, in the Cascade Mountains of Washington State. And it was a beautiful afternoon, beautiful October day. And all of a sudden my dog took off running, and she began barking, almost like she was chasing an animal, and I lost sight of her. But this wasn't unusual. It's something she did all the time. I mean, dogs run off and they chase squirrels and they chase, raccoons. And this is an area that's forest. It's not a park, so you don't have to have your dog on a leash. And I mean, it's the Washington State forest. So, and very remote. It's 60 miles east of Seattle, which takes about an hour to get to. And she was barking, and I lost sight of her. And then she'd run back up to me, happily, like normal, and we just kept walking. And we'd done this many times in this area, this very same area. So it was very comfortable for me in this moment. But one time she took off barking and ran farther away, where I really, really had no idea quite where she was, other than I could hear the barking. And it began to sound threatening, or either she had found something and was trying to tree an animal, trying to get toward an animal, or an animal was trying to attack her. And the more I listened, the more I could hear her actually in a defensive or fearful sounding bark. And it was just chaos sounding. I mean, it wasn't just one or two, it was just almost nonstop. So, like I said, she was totally out of sight. I wanted to help if I could, or detangle her if she was involved with some other kind of animal. There are wildcats, there are small bears and raccoons that all can threaten a dog. So I wanted to try to find her, so I went and kept running toward the sound, where I actually heard this yelping sound. And I got where I still couldn't see her through the brush, because there's a very dense underbrush in this area, in this forest. But I could hear that I was close. I was probably within 50 to 75 feet of her. And I dropped my backpack that I had, and I picked up a branch that happened to be laying on the ground that was about 6 or 7 feet long, and about the width of a baseball bat. And I thought, I can at least defend her off of some, animal that she's obviously engaged with. But I couldn't hear any other sounds of any other animals, but I just heard her barking and yelping, like she was either being bitten or threatened. So I ran toward the sound, and I kind of ran down a hill and over a little rise, and just as I went over the next rise, I found myself face to face with this creature, this small, childlike in size creature, that at the moment, because of the darkness of the canopy, the tree canopy, I couldn't make out all of the features. I could see that it was dark, almost black in color, shaded. It had a head, it had 2 arms, 2 legs, and a torso, and my dog seemed to be attached to it, like it had bitten the arm of this creature. But the second I saw this creature grab my dog, which was attached to her arm, and start throwing my dog over its head like it weighed nothing. Well, my dog weighed 100 pounds. It was a golden retriever, 7-year-old golden retriever. It's a big dog. Well, this was being thrown back and forth so quickly, like there was no weight at all. And the second I even got that in my mind, it stopped. The thing looked at me, kind of made this hissy scream, and then literally ripped my dog's head apart at the jaw, tearing her head right in half, and her body and blood and tissue flowing all over her body and onto the ground. After witnessing my dog being torn apart, I didn't think. I didn't have any premeditation. I just jumped forward and acted, struck out with this branch, and hit it as hard as I could, trying to kill it because of what I just witnessed, it killing my dog. I didn't know if it was going to attack me next. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what it was. And I didn't take any time to contemplate that. A lot of people have asked, well, why didn't you take some time to figure this out? This all happened in a matter of 10 to 12 seconds at the most. from the time I came over the rise until I struck it. And if you would have witnessed what it was doing to my dog, I'm sure anyone would have tried to stop that action. Right after that happened, when I hit it, it fell to the ground and screamed as it started to fall. And I screamed too. I screamed too. In fear, in desperation, I don't know, in anger, because I was angry about what I saw. But instantly I was sick. I fell to the ground, on my knees, on my hands. I couldn't breathe right. I felt like there was a pressure on my chest. I was starting to hyperventilate. I was sick to my stomach. I couldn't control my bowels. Or my bladder, everything let go at once. And if anybody's ever had any part of that condition, you know how you feel. You know that you are just absolutely paralyzed in that moment with a crippling sickness. Well, I'd never been that sick, ever, in my life. I didn't know what was going on. Because everything happened so fast, so quickly. I'd never experienced anything like that feeling in my body, let alone something that ripped my dog apart. Now, some people have said, well, maybe it was a psychosis that you had, an illusion. Maybe something happened that was really too psychologically damaging that you couldn't recognize the reality of what was going on. Like maybe my dog had been killed by a bear, and my mind just recreated this fantasy. Well, I know that isn't true. I've played it over and over in my mind. I've tried to rationalize it away. I've tried to, at the moment it happened, I tried to deny that any of this was happening. I didn't want to believe that I was in this state, in this physical condition, that I had witnessed it. And I was sick, I was on the ground, I couldn't get up, my muscles were like paralyzed in the point that I had no strength to get up. And everything seemed foreign, everything seemed strange at that moment. I mean, the ground felt spongy instead of normal, like normal dirt and rocks. It felt like mud, like thick mud, like I almost couldn't move in the air. The density of the air had changed. Even the temperature, even the sounds, the normal sounds in the forest were gone. How could this be happening? I kept asking myself, what is this? Is this the condition of my being sick? My body is in such peril? Am I dying for some reason? I mean, I was a doctor. I was a medical doctor. I understand that your body can go into trauma and go into shock and create situations that you can't rationalize out. And I was trying to imagine this must be what is happening to me. This actually must be what is happening. But the fact that I would turn around and there within 3 feet of my face was this thing that had killed my dog. And now I could see that it wasn't a child, you know, and I could see its face, I could see the blood from its skull where I had hit it, that it had breached its skull. There was cranial matter literally laying on its skin and on the ground beneath it. And there was a lot of blood. It wasn't moving, it wasn't breathing, and as far as I was concerned, it was dead. And I was happy that it was dead. But I was still in this peril of health. I just couldn't stop hyperventilating. And I knew that unless I slowed my breathing down, I would go into shock. So I tried to control my breathing. I actually tried to force myself to calm down, but as soon as I would do that, my mind would jump ahead and I'd start breathing again, really, really hard. And I'd try to crawl around and try to get up, and then I'd fall back down. You know, I'd lean against a tree and I'd fall back down. And then I don't know how long I was there. It felt like a long time at first, but then again it felt very quick. But I had been on my knees for what felt like an hour, and I heard a sound. I heard another sound. And at that moment, all the sound was silent. It was like somebody had put a lid over the top of this area, where normally you would hear the sound of the wind or the birds in the trees. There was nothing. So either my ears and my own hearing had stopped functioning normally, or something actually had silenced this area. Now, I wasn't rationalizing this like I'm talking to you now. I wasn't thinking that, gee, maybe this or maybe that could be happening. I was in panic because I thought I was dying. I mean, that's what my mind was telling me. My body is in crisis. But I heard this other sound, and I thought, oh, it's somebody, it's another person. It's a hiker, you know, and maybe they can help me because I really needed help. So I tried to stand up and I'd fall back down. I tried to walk a few steps, I'd fall back down, and I'd crawl. And I could hear this sound, this ebbing, kind of wavering harmonic tone. And I thought, well, maybe it's somebody with a radio, you know, like a boombox, you know, like somebody's got some CDs playing. And I kept listening and I kept searching with my eyes and my ears.
We're just getting started, and I hope to see you again for part 3 of this story. With cameras everywhere now, it's virtually impossible for the powers that be to hide all the evidence of these cases from around the world. I now leave you with some more amazing closed-circuit footage of what appears to be 2 friends walking somewhere in the night until, well, you just have to see this for yourselves.